When we talk so much about the hate coming from the church, the hypocrisy, the division out there, it can leave us feeling a little down. And when we go so deep in our journey coming out of damaging religion, we often miss the beauty along the way. So today we want to remind us all of the joy we have found on our journey of deconstruction and talk about 30 freeing things we have done. Beloved, your heart really deserves this.
Would it be okay if I were to tell you that I am afraid someday, so I call you up and you call me down? Would it be okay?
Well, hello and welcome to the FreedHearts Podcast. My name is Robert Cottrell, and I'm here as always with
Susan Cottrell.
Hi there.
Hi.
Welcome, everybody. Today, we thought we would provide a little relief from all the teaching of contempt. It's not really comic relief. You know why? I don't have a joke. But it's art relief.
So I just listened to a great book called Your Brain on Art, How the Arts Transform Us. It's by Susan Magsamen and Ivy Ross. And we are going to talk about this today because it's about good mental health. They start the book by describing the record levels of mental health challenges. People are facing anxiety, generalized anxiety, and maybe for many of the reasons that we've been talking about here, and how alone so many of us feel through this.
Yeah.
And that's where art comes in. So these authors talk about how beneficial art is for honest healing from trauma, from anxiety, like clinically, provably, medically beneficial for healing. And they wrote that we are conscious of only 5% of our mental activity, so not all of the information that your brain is processing reaches your consciousness. But we can access our subconscious through, of all things, art, like music. Listening to certain music affects your brain and you don't even know it. So they're talking about art in the broadest sense. And they go through the building blocks of fundamental neuroscience about what art does to us. And they said just 20 minutes a day of art can create all kinds of miraculous outcomes of healing.
Wow.
Yeah. And by art, they mean the widest possible variety of activities, creating art, but also consuming art. So it may be coloring or arranging flowers, listening to a concert, singing, playing notes on your keyboard, theater. We go to our local theater 5 minutes from our house regularly, and we love it. We love getting out of the house, but also the play pulls us into this other world and does something amazing to us. And, it does so much more than we feel, because just as they said, we're conscious of only 5% of our brain activity. What art does to us is mostly in the 95% that we're not conscious of.
And this is interesting too, because I think that sometimes when non-art things so easily fill our space that when we do art things, it takes us to a place that we were just not there, or that we've been ignoring or not accessing because our brain is full of all these things, oftentimes serious things. And we talk about the 24/7 news cycle and all this stuff, and art just takes us out of that.
Yes.
And I think opens up so much more.
Yes. Even when I'm writing, which is, left brain activity, I still like to have music on in the background that doesn't have words, because it just resets me in a different way. So, of course, listening to this book, I thought of you and how if this one activity in any of its forms could have such a restorative healing effect on you, our beloveds, then we want to talk about it.
Yep.
And here's just a brief list of activities that do something really powerful to the brain. Take a walk outside, feet in the grass, stand by the soaring trees. This is participation in the grandeur of the art around us, the natural art of the universe. We know that being outside does something physical and powerful in us, and that's what this book and its research points to.
I think of what I feel like next to waterfalls. Waterfalls are something, and I don't care if it's an incredibly powerful natural waterfall or a waterfall feature in Las Vegas or Disneyland, it still feels the same. It's that, not quite the same.
Right.
But there's something about it. There's something about the ocean to me. And what I've come to understand is like, I don't understand why, or what it is, probably because it's an area that I've not been accessing. Mm-hmm. But it's there. Mm-hmm. It's there. From painting, drawing, coloring, and it could just be coloring in a coloring book. Just even drawing stick figures, which personally, my specialty. Our grandchild has this little, like, you draw it and then you can move the
it's
thing.
It's like an Etch-a-Sketch.
Etch-a-Sketch, yeah. Thank you. I am that old. I should know that. But it's just so much fun to draw a teddy bear and a cat and a dog, and they get so much joy out of it, and I get so much joy out of it.
Yes.
But so don't diminish the power of stick figures. Color in a coloring book, doing Play-Doh or clay or sand art. And it's also music and dance and theater. Just again, just as you said, going to the theater. I even think movies sometimes can calm our nervous systems. And I mean, it's no wonder that we binge our favorite shows sometimes because in the midst of all this stuff, it's healing.
Yeah.
It's healing.
I had this experience when I had cancer 5 years ago, and part of what was available to me in the treatment was art studio where we could create art. And this was like a dream come true for me. And they kept saying it's about the process, not the product. But me being kind of a perfectionist, high performer, whatever, I basically said, yeah. And I focused on making the product. But now, all this time later, I really get it, that it really is about the process. And I can hardly even express the joy that has been made available to me to participate. And I've also battled with the guilt of spending time on art. What a mind F that is, that I need to do this much work before I can, or productivity, before I deserve to waste time on art.
Yeah, quote, waste time, right.
Yeah,
right.
Not true. Art is healing. Art is fun. Art is inherent in us and necessary for our well-being.
I mean, just the same way you would never say that about drinking water.
Right.
And this, honestly, it's probably as essential. It's for your mental health, your well-being,
Yeah.
There's something called sound healing out there. And we've done a little bit of that. We had one time we went to a sound, like it was a gong.
Yes.
Kind of
something like
thing.
that.
And it was beautiful.
It was through the cancer center.
Well,
yeah.
That's right. It was. And listening to music, playing an instrument if you do that, or singing, dancing in your own living room like no one's watching to music you love.
Yeah.
I would suggest BTS. I'm sorry. Let me back up. I would suggest Saint Sinner, Hannah Cottrell. These are all.
Then BTS.
These are all part. It's all part of the process. This beautiful process, and they're all amazingly healing, and life giving, and healing from trauma.
Yeah, literally, like measurably. In fact, they said with dancing, if you have a migraine, what the traditional thing has been, go lay down in a dark room and don't move or whatever. And they said that actually does not help. But if you start dancing, it will affect your migraine. It will go away. It's just amazing.
Yeah.
So I've always loved art. I've always wanted to do art, but I didn't really avail myself of the opportunity to do it until this cancer experience.
Yeah, that's true.
I had dabbled, but with the cancer, I really came across the art therapy as part of the treatment and thought, wow, yes. And they said poetry, to read poetry. There's some kind of access that we have to poetry, even if it's in a language we don't speak. They said to listen to poetry is just remarkable. Isn't that remarkable that would affect us like that? And they said, I keep meaning the authors when I say that. They said, read poetry before bed, and it shifts your brain and calms you so that you can go to sleep. That's amazing. And NQ said, poetry celebrates vulnerability as strength. It is a timeless form of storytelling that inspires connection and opens hearts and minds. Experiencing ourselves through another person's story creates empathy, and empathy is what the world needs most right now.
Wow, that's beautiful.
Isn't that beautiful?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
And, I think we talk about the power of story, and we just did a video. It's on our social media from the Personal Stories Project. Shout out to Charles Massey there in that project. We told our story, and it's just the power of the story. And you can do that in writing of any kind, be it journaling, be it poetry, be it just simple lists and bullets and notes and all these access this profound healing of art.
That's remarkable. That's just such a simple access
and
to
that's
healing.
something we've learned recently in this. Yeah.
Get outside. Getting out in nature has those same beneficial effects. Sit in the grass, watch the clouds, thank the trees. I take our grandbaby out and I say, oh, the tree, and we pat it and we hug it. All these things are profoundly healing physically, physiologically, psychologically, emotionally. And, I've known that, I think, for a while, but doing it is what accesses the healing.
And that grandbaby, by the way, wants to go outside all the time.
All the time.
All the time.
Yeah. And we're like, again, they never want to come in. But reading this has given me a new appreciation for their inner knowing that it's made me more willing to take them outside for their benefit and for my benefit, because they know what we've forgotten.
Yeah. Yeah.
That there's benefit there.
Yeah.
Sewing is art. I love to sew. Collage is art, collecting leaves from various trees and pasting them down on paper and tying it together with yarn to make your own leaf book, which I did in summer camp.
I remember doing that.
At 6 years old. You remember doing that?
I do.
Oh, cool. I thought it was just me and my Bluebird troop. And it was one of the favorite things I ever did.
And now, X number of years later, you're still talking about it.
It's true.
I know.
It's true. That's profound. And you can just search easy art activities and you'll come up with 10,000 things to do. Adult ideas or children's art ideas, doesn't matter. Get finger paint and paint with it.
Yeah, and adults, don't be afraid to take full advantage and really dive into children's ideas.
Yeah.
That can be very fun. Take the chalk out on the sidewalk, finger painting.
Yeah.
That, as you just said, that's great.
One activity we did in my art healing therapy was I got 3 canvases. She gave me 3 canvases and finger paints and said, create 3 different visions of you in the world. And it was so much fun. One was up close. One was like me in the world, and one was from space, just the totality of the world, of the universe. I wouldn't have thought that would be in there, but it just came out of me.
Wow.
So you can just find prompts like that.
There are lots of ideas.
Lots of ideas.
Just do whatever floats your boat.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Gather some friends and have a regular art time if you want, whatever.
Yeah. Alice Walker had a great quote. She said, if art doesn't make us better, what on earth is it for?
Oh my God, that's so beautiful.
And people who participate in the arts, listen to this here. One of the statistics is that people who participate in the arts once a month lower their chance of dying early by 31%. I mean, what?
Wow.
And even if you bring the arts into your life twice a year, just twice a year, do something, create, go see something twice a year, you lower your chance of early death by 14%. That's just remarkable to me.
That's remarkable.
I mean, children who participate in art in some way experience far fewer problems in their teenage and adult years, which is maddening to me as an arts guy. I mean, I sing, I play instruments, and you create too that the liberal arts are often viewed as the enemy of the church and are taken out of our school system, but they're so vital.
Yeah.
They're so vital.
Yeah,
and
they're
again,
the first things cut in the schools.
Yeah, and children who experience, again, they have fewer problems in their teenage and adult years. Children who read have fewer problems in school later, are like avid readers, and are more likely to eat their vegetables.
That is
I'm not
crazy.
Sure I'm not sure that's a plus, but that's just me. I know. I mean, that's
wild.
That's wild. I know.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not just because they're nerds, so you expect them to have those outcomes. It's because it's not
just nerdy reading.
Yeah, it's not just nerdy reading.
It can be just a comic book.
Yeah. Yeah, what you read doesn't matter. Fiction, it can be comic books. It's just reading that is amazing in that.
I just finished reading Alison Bechdel's graphic novel memoir, Fun Home, which her family owned a funeral home and they called it Fun Home. So amazing. And it's a graphic novel and I loved it.
Yeah.
We all understand generally that meditation and exercise can help us have positive outcomes, even live longer.
Yeah.
But art literally helps you live longer.
Yeah.
Studies have shown it. And it doesn't matter what kind of art. That's the amazing thing. It's the access to that part of your brain that's important.
Would you ever wonder, and I talk about this every time I see an example of it, how Tony Bennett could have lived into his 90s singing. I mean,
He's still sang at the end.
Mick Jagger? I mean, who's the guitar player? Keith Richards, for God's sake. If anybody should be long gone by now, it's Keith, with the self-admitted drug use and horrible treatment of his body and the complete blood transfusions he had. But there's something about the creativity. There's something about being on stage and doing what you love that's artsy like that. You know, the work that Helen Mirren and Maggie Smith and others do well into their 80s and 90s, you know, in the theater. It's just amazing work.
Yep.
And they're so full of life and vibrant. And I believe that's the impact of the arts. There's a thing that I watched about someone whose father had Alzheimer's and was gone. Kind of gone.
Yes.
And he would go to visit him in the care facility, and the dad wouldn't know who he was, but he wanted to go on a drive, and he said okay, and so he took his dad on a drive, and he had a tape. He had a tape of his dad's favorite songs from his life, his favorite songs in life, and he said the moment I put that tape in and it started, my dad knew every word and he knew me.
Wow.
He had all his memories.
Wow.
Of life, everything. He was back.
Wow. That's remarkable.
And when I had to go back and the music stopped,
stranger again.
He was a stranger again. And there's something about
so
this.
moving.
There's part of the brain that accesses, or that gets accessed here, that's connected to the heart and to the life-giving in us. It's just amazing.
Yes. Oh my gosh. Well, and I want to reiterate what I had to learn, and that's don't go for perfection, because that just kind of kills the mood, so to speak. And I finally decided on an 80-20 rule. And that is that I'm going to spend 80% of the time that I would have, like, instead of 100% of the time, I'm going to spend 80% of the time on a project and let go of that last 20%, which is the perfectionist part. If that translates. In my mind, it works. So 80% as much time as I would normally spend doing a piece of art, drawing or painting or whatever. And because that 20% is the perfectionist that I'm letting go.
Yeah.
And my inner critic can sit down and read a magazine because I'm not listening. Yeah. So throughout my art therapy, the art therapist kept saying it's not about the result, it's about the process. And I've always been all about the result in a way. And so I didn't believe her. I wanted to make something that I loved, but it was the process. And now 5 years on, I can see that it really is about the process. Yeah. And I love the things I made that are not, quote, perfect, that didn't turn out the way I thought. Yeah. So Yo-Yo Mama.
So your singing doesn't have to be perfect. Your music doesn't have your art. And also keep in mind too that when you go to something, when you go to theater, it doesn't have to be perfect either.
Right.
Don't let your your critique of something you're watching in the arts kind of take away the joy from just being in that moment.
Yeah, the theater we go to, some of the shows are better than others.
Yeah, but they're all great.
But it's all really enjoyable. Yeah. So Yo-Yo Ma said, I once had the audacity to think I could play a perfect concert. And one time the concert was going so well and I was bored out of my mind. That's when I made the fateful decision not to go for human perfection, but to go for human expression.
Wow.
Beautiful. Same. Wow. Same for me.
Let's talk a bit about trauma and the connection between art and healing trauma.
Yeah. Okay. Well, there's this story of Judy Tawalet. How do you say it?
Oh,
Tawalet Stiwa. Judy Tawaletstewa. Sorry, everybody. Judy Tawaletstewa, who had suffered enormous trauma throughout her childhood, severe intergenerational trauma, and she didn't know how she would ever heal. And she's now a renowned international artist who helps others heal. And she did this major art project that I found fascinating, and I may try it at some point to at least some degree, and you may just enjoy it here. But she did a series of paintings on one canvas. So she got a white canvas, I think it was 4 by 6 feet maybe, so a big one. She painted the first in the series, painting her trauma. She took a picture of it, and then she painted it over and did the next in the series, took a picture.
On the same canvas.
On the same canvas. And then painted over it. She did 100 paintings this way on this one canvas that she photographed every one of them. Then she did a series, same thing, with a black canvas. And I love that. And then she did a red canvas. This kind of, there's no box that you have to fit in. You get to do whatever you want. And I just love that. And it was beautiful, she said, to see how these pictures of trauma morphed.
Exactly.
Yeah. And I love that painting over because it moves on. You did the work.
Exactly.
And now it's gone.
Right.
I just love that.
That's powerful.
And I personally love the idea of the impermanence. And that took a while to get my head around. But I really like it, whether you're painting over your canvas or dance or other performance art. It reminds me of the Buddhist tradition of creating a beautiful and intricate sand mandala and then dismantling it, they call it, which is part of the ritual to symbolize that we are impermanent in our physical state. And I tend to save anything that's meaningful for me, as you know. And this is a visual of our impermanence.
Yeah.
And it takes...
I think it's tied to the trauma, too.
Yeah.
You know, I think it's part of the forgetting process of the trauma, the moving forward part of the trauma.
Yes. The moving past the trauma.
Yeah,
That's really interesting.
Yeah.
Yes. So we share all this as an invitation, really, to approach your healing in your own way. And obviously, painting over a canvas 100 times may not be your thing, and it's, but you could fill a sketchbook with drawing coloring stick figures of your own journey. Art is extremely accessible. Anybody can find expression to access healing for your trauma, for your anxiety, for your fear.
Yeah.
And it doesn't have to be, it can be very simple. Why does art therapy work to heal trauma? I found a story in the New York Times of Terry Sullivan, who suddenly found an active shooter on his commuter train in New York. And he escaped unshot, but 19 people died in that incident. And Terry struggled for a long time afterward, trying to work through the trauma. And even though he's a writer, he said he found healing from this trauma was beyond words. Therapy helped a lot, but it was painting, he said, that really brought relief. And the article gives, some help from that. It's some quotes. It said, "We know recounting the story can be a valuable part of recovery. It allows us to put the parts and pieces into context and also to develop meaning from the story. Those elements, the recalling and setting to rest and putting it in a meaningful context, are part of the recovery process." And this is from Dr. Robert Uzano. What were you going to say?
No, I was going to say, who's that from?
Yeah. And he said, doing the art puts you into a state of relaxation, which can be a safe space that's known to you. You have a sense of control over that space. So then you can create and heal and access
what you're
things
feeling.
from that.
Yeah. And I also, to take something like that and other big traumas could be a cancer diagnosis.
Yes.
Or anything that
Or being kicked out of your family.
Or that's right. And sometimes I love this idea that the writing didn't do it. Because sometimes like, it's even scary. How do I put down the words to express what I feel?
Yes.
But art,
yes.
you feel the freedom to do that through the paintbrush and the anger that comes with that, or the healing or the peace that comes with that, or, and things like poetry. It's so different. You can rhyme everything with Nantucket, or you could do all kinds of poetry. Again, that has no structure at all. That's all. It's all poetry. Yeah. So that's the beauty of that, is just to write down random words you're feeling and creating art, and it's a beautiful thing. And
nobody has to see it but you.
Yeah. And in that,
or can see it.
And in that, he gave actually 4 tips to find your voice in the healing process.
Yes.
Number 1 was choose a mode of expression that's comfortable, like movement, dance, drawing, whatever feels easy for you to relax into. Again, everybody's different, and that can help you find your voice to speak to both the trauma and the hope. Number 2 was seek a state of relaxation. The activity itself provides a sense of security because you're finding a safe space and remembering after a trauma that such a safe space exists. So just that process creates hope.
I love that.
Number 3 is don't critique yourself, Susan. Don't critique yourself. Feel free to work in any way you want. You can scribble. I love that. That meme I've seen about myself, a stress relief art book, and it's one of those images, and it's just scribble all over the thing. So, you can scribble across your whole entire sketch pad and include dates. Sounds like a visual diary. And finally, number 4, be selective before you share. This is really meant for you. And this is a treasure of your heart, of your subconscious. No one else witnessed this process with you, and not everyone will get it. And we know that, and we know that by now.
Yes, that's right. Others didn't. You're somebody, whatever person didn't go through the trauma that you experienced. So you can't expect them necessarily to get it. If they do, it's a gift. But, this is your journey. So this is all if you want to take on some deep healing, but you don't need to do anything so specific. Simple art on 20 minutes a day, they said, will shift your brain, body, emotions. And we mean art defined in the broadest possible terms. Listen to music, dance to music for 20 minutes. It will transform your life.
Yeah.
Beauty in art is in the eye of the beholder. And when it comes to physical beauty of faces, there seems to be a kind of universal across the world, like it has to do with symmetry and if the person looks kind, which I find really interesting. But with art, there is no universal. Beauty truly is in the eye of the beholder. One person's trash is another person's art.
That's true.
Yeah.
Let's begin to wrap this up today. Again, listen to music, dance, go to local community theater, go to a poetry slam. Those are very fun, by the way.
Oh, so fun.
Concerts, and if you don't have access to that, find that online if you want. There's unlimited resources out there for this kind of stuff. And create art. Create.
Yeah. You can start with a little sketchbook. They're not expensive. Watch Danny Gregory's videos from Sketchbook School with a K, and he will motivate you like nobody's business in a very tender way. I love watching him, and I love my sketchbook. Many YouTube videos are out there to tell you how to start a sketchbook and draw in it every day, and you can just doodle. Give yourself permission to just do it however you want.
Yeah. Now get a coloring book and some crayons and colors. how much of a kid thing is that going to activate in you? Go out and buy your Crayola 64 color or the big thick crayons and get yourself a fun coloring book on My Little Pony or whatever it is. Again, it can be an adult coloring book or a child coloring book. It doesn't matter. It can be a mandala book. Use crayons or colored pencils, whatever pencils or markers, whatever turns you on. Yeah.
And try Neurographica, which you can search to find out what it is. It's so healing. Neuro, Neuro, Graphica. Knitting, crocheting, macrame, candle making, sculpture, Play-Doh, improv.
Yeah.
Any of those things.
Yeah. I mean, the great James Baldwin said, the purpose of art is to lay bare the questions that have been hidden by the answers.
Whoa.
I know. The purpose of art is to lay bare the questions that have been hidden by the answers.
That is so beautiful.
And for so many of us whose families or churches didn't really welcome questions, but plastered over all of our honest inquiry with answers, art lets us lay bare the questions.
I love that. I love that.
Yeah, me too.
So I want to end this with a beautiful letter by Kurt Vonnegut, author of Cat's Cradle and Slaughterhouse-Five and all kinds of books. Some students from a high school in New York City, Miss Lockwood's class, invited him to speak to their school. They wrote a letter to him, and he was not able to go, but he wrote this wonderful thing back to them that I want to read. He said, practice any art, music, singing, dancing, acting, drawing, painting, sculpting, poetry, fiction, essays, reportage, no matter how well or badly, not to get money and fame, but to experience becoming, to find out what's inside you, to make your soul grow. Seriously, I mean, starting right now, do art and do it for the rest of your lives. Draw a funny picture or a nice picture of Miss Lockwood and give it to her. Dance home after school and sing in the shower and on and on. Make a face in your mashed potatoes. Pretend you're Count Dracula. Here's an assignment for tonight, and I hope Miss Lockwood will flunk you if you don't do it. Write a 6-line poem about anything but rhymed. Make it as good as you possibly can, but don't tell anybody what you're doing. Don't show it or recite it to anybody, not even your girlfriend or parents or whatever, or Miss Lockwood, okay? Tear it up into teeny-weeny pieces and discard them into widely separated trash receptacles. You will find that you have already been gloriously rewarded for your poem. You have experienced becoming, learned a lot more about what's inside you, and you've made your soul grow. God bless you all. Kurt Vonnegut.
Wow, that's beautiful.
I love that. I love that. And I will tell you that after doing art much more intentionally these last 5 years, that I am a different person. I've experienced becoming. I've learned a lot more about what's inside me, and my soul has grown.
Oh, that's beautiful. Thanks for sharing all that today. I appreciate that.
It was my pleasure.
Beloved, we love you. We hope this has been a balm to your soul.
Yes.
And helps you with all this you're going through. And we're going to get back to
do this and have a good experience or bad experience, whatever.
Yeah, write us.
I'd love to hear about it. Yeah.
Comment in the comments. Oh, by the way, I do want to say that on whatever platform you're listening on now, there's a little thing where it says send us a message. It's a private message. Only we see those. If you want us to respond, we don't have any way to respond
to that. They won't let us.
Just include your email address in that message and we'll write you back. And again, it is private. So we love you. Go, create, participate, watch, learn, create, whatever. It's all good.
Enjoy, partake. Listen to music.
Yeah, create and partake.
Yeah.
We love you.
Hug a tree.
We will hug a tree. We'll talk to you next week.
Bye.
Bye.
Would it be okay if I were to tell you that I am afraid someday? So I call you up and you call me down. Would it be okay?
You've been listening to the FreedHearts Podcast. We have extensive resources and vibrant, inclusive community for you at freedhearts.org. Please just come say hello. If you have questions, comments, or suggestions for the podcast, just email us at podcast@freedhearts.org. Audio engineering is provided by Luke Johnson. The music is provided by our daughter, Hannah Cottrell, who is Grammy nominated. You can find out more about her and her music at hannahcottrell.com. Please share, subscribe and follow on your favorite platform, and support us if you can. Thanks for listening.